Willie D live.
What's up, family? Michelle Obama is pushing back on the idea that the MAGA movement can be explained only by racism or bigotry. What do y'all think about that, fam? Give me a thumbs up if you believe her. Thumbs down if you say, who paid her? Come on, Michelle. Come on now. I understand, let's put it like this. Let me tell y'all some of what she said, and then you guys can decide how you feel about that. In a clip from Talk Easy with Sam Fragoso, shared by TMZ, the former First Lady argues that many people drawn to Donald Trump's movement should not simply be dismissed as racist bigots. Instead, she suggests that some were desperate working class Americans who felt ignored and wanted something different. I'll read the rest of it, but I got to stop right there. What did they want different? What did they want? I get it. I get it on the LGBTQ thing, right? Because they wanted that different. They wanted something different right there, right? They wanted that. They wanted that different, right? They didn't like the idea that the trans people wanted to go into the bathrooms. They didn't like men and women's bathrooms. I think the Democrats took it too far with that. I think they took it too far with that, with the men in the women's bathroom, right? So they was tired of that. So they're going to vote for Trump, okay? They didn't like the fact that the immigrants were here. So even though the immigrants were being employed by many of them and their bosses and stuff here for cheap labor, they want to get rid of the immigrants, right? Cool. Gotcha. Gotcha. Hear you, man. Hey, get rid of the immigrants. Get rid of the illegal immigrants, right? Okay. What else they wanted? They wanted lower gas prices. They wanted lower, specifically, egg prices. They want the price of eggs to come on down like the price is right. But they never did. And they're still waiting on the price of eggs to come down. Right now, the eggs are saying, damn if I do, the price continues to escalate. Now, why is that? Well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that Donald Trump started an illegal war. A lot of it has to do with the fact that Donald Trump did a whole lot of cuts to government programs and also government employees. Like hundreds of thousands of government employees were laid off. They did a lot of just grabbing, it was like a money grab, right? Big old money grab going on here, right? He never cared about the people. He never cared about the fact that they were holding on by a shoestring economically. He never cared about none of that. I don't understand how people think that a billionaire could relate to them. Like, he actually sold to them the idea that because he's a billionaire, he could help them get some money. He didn't tell them that he gets his money from people like them. Billionaires typically get their money from people who will never be billionaires, who will never even become millionaires. But they couldn't see that. And then you have the Trump supporter, who is by far, I do believe, the majority, who voted for Trump because they liked the racist bigotry coming out of his camp. That's right, I said it. They were trying to maintain that chokehold they have on white supremacy. They was trying to maintain it, man. That's what it was about. When they said they wanted something different, they wanted racism back. When they said make America great again, that's what they wanted. When they said we want our country back, That's what they were talking about. And none of them say, hey, that's bad messaging. Let's not say that, because they're going to think the only reason why we're saying that because the black man is in office now. None of them said, stop saying that. They all said it. We want our country back. They never said they wanted their country back when all of those previous, what was it, 44 presidents before Barack Obama destroyed the country. They never said they wanted their country back then. When they did all types of atrocities happen while these dudes were in office. You had the Great Depression that happened. You had the Civil War that happened. Well, hundreds of thousands of Americans died, were killed. You had so many, you know what? Let me just go down let me just remind some of y'all of some of the atrocities that happened in America on the watch of all of the previous 44 presidents before Barack Obama came in. You had the Holocaust of the Trail of Tears. Remember that? 1830s to the 1840s. Under the Indian Removal Act, the U.S. government forcibly relocated over 100,000 indigenous people. Approximately 4,000 Cherokee died from starvation, cold, and disease. That's the number they give, but we know that number is far greater. You had the California genocide that lasted from 1846 to 1873. State-funded militias and private mercenaries targeted native populations. The indigenous population plummeted from roughly 150,000 to 30,000. You had the Bear River Massacre in 1863. U.S. troops attacked a Shoshone winter encampment in Idaho, killing over 350 people. Sand Creek Massacre of 1864. Around 700 U.S. cavalry soldiers raided a peaceful village of Cheyenne in Colorado. They slaughtered and mutilated up to 163 civilians, mostly women and children. You had the Wounded Knee Massacre of 1890. But let's get into the transatlantic slavery and post-Reconstruction racial violence that have been perpetrated in this country. Okay, let's start with the transatlantic slave trade from the 16th century to the 19th century. Across the U.S., over 10 million Africans were forced into generational chattel slavery. Millions died during the brutal Middle Passage. Millions died during the brutal Middle Passage. You had the Memphis Massacre of 1866. White mobs and police attacked Black communities, killing 48 people and burning down schools and churches. Let me remind you, this was on the Democrats' watch and the Republicans' watch, okay? You had the Colfax Massacre. This happened in Louisiana. Armed white supremacists clashed with Black freedmen at a courthouse. Between 83 and 153 men were slaughtered, many after surrendering. You had the Wilmington Massacre. This is in North Carolina. A white mob overthrew the democratically elected biracial local government. They burned down Black businesses and murdered an estimated 60 to 300 Black residents. Elaine Massacre of 1919 in Arkansas. Part of the Red Summer, a white mob and U.S. troops killed an estimated 100 to 241 Black sharecroppers trying to organize a union. So pretty much exercising their constitutional rights. They were murdered, slaughtered at the behest of the U.S. government. Moving on. Most of you know about the Tulsa race massacre that happened in Oklahoma in 1921. A white mob, and this is out of pure jealousy, a white mob attacked the prosperous Black neighborhood of Greenwood, otherwise known as Black Wall Street, armed with firearms and private planes. They burned 35 blocks and killed up to 300 people. They had firearms and private planes. This happened in the United States of America in 1921. And then a couple of years later, you had the Rosewood Massacre, something that happened in Florida for similar reasons, out of pure jealousy An entire black town was destroyed and residents driven away permanently following a false accusation against a black man. This is a false accusation. So imagine if it was no accusation. It's still happening. You dig what I'm saying, fam? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? And then you had the labor striker massacres, the Thibodeau massacre, the Latimer massacre, the Ludlow massacre, Memorial Day massacre. This is early as 1937. The Chicago police shot and killed 10 unarmed peaceful demonstrators during a steel strike. This ain't just black folks. This happened to white folks, right? Let's go back to the Thibodeau massacre. Local militias killed at least 35 and potentially up to 300 striking black sugarcane workers in Louisiana. If we're so lazy, why are we striking? Anyway, civil liberties violations and state actions, okay? This is something that some of y'all that non-blacks might be able to relate to. Yeah, the Japanese-American internment from 1942 to 1945, following Executive Order 1966, the U.S. government forcibly relocated and incarcerated over 120,000 people of Japanese descent, 2/3 of whom were U.S. citizens in isolated concentration camps. That don't bother you, right? Okay, what about the Tuskegee syphilis study? The U.S. Public Health Service tracked 600 low-income black men with syphilis. Researchers actively withheld effective treatment, specifically penicillin, decades without the patient's informed consent, leading to numerous preventable deaths. Yet, move bombing in 1985. This is very recent. The Philadelphia Police Department dropped a military-grade C4 bomb on a residential row house occupied by Black liberation group MOVE. It resulted in a fire that killed 11 people, including 5 children, and destroyed 61 homes. Let me say that again. The U.S. dropped a military-grade bomb on U.S. citizens in a U.S. city. This happened on the Republicans and the Democrats' watch. Let's get back to the Republicans. I'm going to say what Bill Maher said, because some of y'all don't believe it unless a white person said it. I'm not saying that all Republicans are racist. But if you're a racist, you're probably a Republican. And that don't let you racist Democrats off the hook. No more talk.